Little Pony Generation 3 was arguably the most sickeningly sweet, girly generation of all of My Little Pony. The stories were lighthearted and wholesome on the outside, but this unapologetic femininity comes with a price, and in my opinion, an evil intention. The title of this video is my thesis. My Little Pony Generation 3 is anti-men. This generation was designed to indoctrinate young girls into seeing men as inferior, and in this video, I will discuss the subliminal messaging used to achieve this. There are only 2 definitely 100% confirmed men in the entire series. It may seem impossible for a piece of media to achieve the messaging that I will outline with only 2 men, but it's important that we do examine these 2 men very closely. The 2 male characters are Santa Claus, who we never see, and Spike the Dragon. Including men in the show might seem like an inclusive decision, but their roles are deceptive. Santa and Spike ultimately only exist to provide a service to the ponies, Santa's being gifts and Spike being training the new princess and comedic relief. There is also a dragonfly character who is maybe a boy. I will explain him first to get him out of the way. A Very Pony Place was released in 2007. This movie is a collection of short stories, the second of which was called Two for the Skies. Two for the Skies was a story inside of a story. The framing story is that the ponies are attending Story Club, which is hosted by Storybelle. Storybelle heads up to the story loft with her friends, and there they choose the story that she's going to be telling them, and for help, she asks Gossamer, who is a dragonfly. This character can be perceived as having, like, no gender or an undefined gender, except that in the story before this one, Comeback Lily Lightly, Lily Lightly is guided by a firefly character. The firefly has big eyelashes and a sweet singing voice, and I think in the universe of bugs for Generation 3, Gossamer's design leans more masculine than the firefly, or as masculine as a cutesy bug can lean, but I feel confident in my assumption that he's a boy. Or is that okay with you, sensitive snowflakes, if I assume his gender? Gossamer never speaks a word, and literally the only thing he does is he carries down a big heavy book for Storybelle. Well, clumsily drop it and then laboriously carry it over because he's a little bug, like he can't carry this book very well. He then spends the rest of the movie turning the pages of said book for Storybelle while she tells the story. His existence is mere servitude to the ponies, and he serves happily with a smile. And Gossamer is just the tip of the iceberg. He wasn't even a leading or an important role. The next movie we're going to talk about is A Very Minty Christmas, which was released in 2005. I have to give a very brief synopsis to continue. Minty accidentally destroys the town candy cane, which is this giant glowing special candy cane that they put on top of the town's Christmas tree every year to guide Santa to their home, and then she spends the rest of the movie resolving this. Santa is never seen on screen, and when we do get to his village, it is entirely empty. Santa's village might seem like a mystical, fun land for the ponies to venture to, or it's evidence that Santa is forced to live in isolation with his elves, for no man shall tarnish the presence of female kind. Santa is only allowed to communicate through notes, one taped to his door and then one taped to the Christmas tree back in Ponyville. I can't even resolve the existence of Christmas in the world of ponies. Like, yes, I know it's weird because it's a pagan holiday that technically became about Jesus because Christians said it would, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not relevant to acknowledge why this is weird, except to say that Jesus is actually not acknowledged in this movie in any way either. But he could be another canon man in the My Little Pony Generation 3 universe. We're gonna get back to Starcatcher, but during this movie, Starcatcher says, "Maybe it's not the glow of a special candy cane that brings Santa to Ponyville every year, but the glow of everyone's love and concern for each other. After all, isn't that the true meaning of Christmas?" Maybe this is an innocent comment about focusing on your loved ones during the holidays, or maybe it's another sinister breadcrumb left in the trail to this show's true evil intention. Perhaps the special candy cane is a metaphor for the phallus, and this movie suggests that the glorification of the phallus of men is a false pursuit. And through this, we can understand that there is no Jesus to these ponies, and the worship of a man is seen as trivial, maybe even unbelievable. In The Princess Promenade, released in 2006, we get our second and only confirmed man in the entire series. Spike is a dragon that emerges from his hibernation to guide, teach, and protect the new princess. The first thing that every pony notices about him is how bad he smells. He has visible leaves and dirt on him and like an animated stink trail following him, as any good, hardworking American man does. The ponies can't live with this, and they all decide together, let's give Spike a makeover. And as Daffy Daisy is pushing him into the bath, he goes, "Oh, it's taken me years to cultivate this scent, and I'd hate to get rid of it just like that. And the ponies ignore this, and into the bath he goes. He makes an attempt to abscond from the bath, but Daffy starts scrubbing him with a brush, and his face softens in delight at this sensation. They give him a pedicure, they do his hair, and through a musical number, he ultimately submits to the pony's feminine wiles, and his rugged masculinity is gone. Spike at first seems like an authority figure, but as the movie goes on, he just sort of becomes like a comedic element. His whole existence is for the purpose of guiding the new princess. At the end of the movie, the ponies redefine princess to just be every pony. Every pony is a princess. So the system his entire life is based around is restructured and therefore destroys his life, and his purpose is violently ripped away from him. This is a metaphor for male authority in real life. The show is trying to suggest that the structures under which male authority function are fickle and can be giggled at or laughed away. It almost suggests to the little girls watching that male authority cannot exist and should not exist, which is heartbreaking because women submitting to men is a universal and biological truth that exists inside every one of us. And submission is so innate and true to our nature that we needed centuries of constant and systematic propaganda telling us to submit, because it just came so naturally to us. And it's worth noting, after Spike emerged and this whole situation happened, Spike never reappears in the movies. He was not allowed to integrate into pony society. But Spike is featured again in the musical, The World's Biggest Tea Party. This play is a great watch, by the way. It's super cute. You get a lot of shots of like the kids in the audience wearing pony t-shirts, and you're always like, oh my god, that shirt is so cute. Let me see if I can track one down on eBay and I can wear it as like a crop top. And you do find it, and it's like $700. The musical spends the whole time mocking Spike as these mischievous ladybugs hide his special how-to book from him. He asks the audience to help him find the book, to no avail. He is just as pathetic in this play as he was in the movie, until the very end when the ponies need his book to help save their tea party. And even then, he didn't really do anything. Like, the book had everything they needed. There is no man in this series that really has any real agency of his own. Men only exist to be the servants of this world, and the women reign with an iron hoof. It's a travesty, and it's woke garbage. Okay. Beyond the canon men in this generation, I have one more character to discuss that I believe adds a lot to this agenda. Okay, so Dancing in the Clouds, 2004, and Friends Are Never Far Away, 2006. In this movie, we are introduced to Starcatcher, and she is the first Pegasus pony that we ever encounter. In these movies, Starcatcher is depicted almost as a fairy-like deity. She speaks with a gentle and goddess-like voice, and the toys we got of Starcatcher for this generation were some of the prettiest toys we ever got from this generation. Look at these tinsel wings. Like, no other pony in the entire generation got a toy with tinsel wings. Whatever divine power she possesses allows her to grant Skywish's wish to help her friend and control the creatures of the air. Now, this is gonna shock you, so make sure you're sitting down for this, but Starcatcher's color palette exactly resembles the transgender flag. I know, but just take a deep breath, okay? This has led to many people playfully headcanoning her as a trans girl, but I think that this was a deliberate choice. The transgender flag was designed in 1999, so I think that it was fresh enough where people would like know about it, but still the general public maybe wouldn't recognize it, so it was easier for the show to hide their intentions with her design. So for the dark intentions of this show, Starcatcher is a trans woman. Now you might be thinking, confetti, if Starcatcher was at one point a man, even if unwillingly or uncertainly, wouldn't that depreciate her value among the female ponies? In fact, wouldn't this history, in the eyes of some ponies, make her unfit for participation in pony society? But if you pay attention to this movie, you'll see that this is not so, as conveyed through various metaphors, the first being that Starcatcher derives from an island called Butterfly Island. The butterfly is a beautiful creature, which spawns only after a transition from its newborn state, the caterpillar. The butterfly is often used as a metaphor for someone blossoming into their true and better self after a large change. In fact, this movie has butterflies as a visual element constantly. Butterflies are how Skywish's wishes are granted for the most part, as her and her friends soar on a magical cloud of butterflies. Butterflies trail behind Starcatcher as she flies away at the end of the first movie. The following movie opens with what I can only describe as a romantic, playful, lesbian romp through a tropical paradise. Starcatcher and Skywish's are prancing around among beautiful flowers and warm water. They both decide they want to throw a party to bring their friends together, as the ponies and the Pegasi have never encountered each other before. In fact, the ponies seem to believe that the Pegasi are mythical creatures. The whole movie is focused on trying to make this happen. And while an innocuous concept at first, I think the movie is sort of using this as a metaphor to join two worlds together, masculinity and femininity. In her own community, Starcatcher seems to be a dominant voice. The other Pegasi are very shy and timid, but not her. In fact, she is the only Pegasus that bears these ornamental marks on her face and her flank, and perhaps they're even meant to indicate that she's the ordained leader of the Pegasi. Starcatcher is basically a goddess to these ponies. She is a guiding figure, she's a loving figure, she's an angel. In essence, My Little Pony Generation 3 suggests that the pursuit of femininity, so great as the one undertaken by trans women, is akin to goddesshood. And by means of her transition, Starcatcher has become the truest girl of all. Not only is this series anti-men, it suggests that the existence of any inherent or perceived masculinity is something to be remedied. And in doing so, you are enlightened. Those 5-year-old sheeple watching this, if you're 5 years old, open your meager eyes to the truth. Hasbro needs to be held responsible for this. In fact, I believe that Generation 3's impact in the early 2000s has led to the rise of the incel movement today. This show helped plant the seed that fueled the rage of the young men that we failed. And today, they are rising up to tell us that they can't find anyone to have sex with.
Wow, that was so great. Thanks.
You are very welcome.
Starcatcher, you've been so nice, and I know you only grant extra special wishes, which you did, but since I can't tell Twinkle about you, may I ask for one more wish?
Consider it done. The extra special wishes are the ones made for friends.